You're listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 387.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? We have emerged from the winter storm here in northern Kentucky largely unscathed because we just had a large volume of snow. There was no freezing rain or ice here, and so a large volume of snow can definitely be dealt with. We're grateful to have it shoveled and to be out and about. Roads are pretty good shape, and we've had power and food and heat. I think my mind today is on those people who suffered from the ice storm, which, as we know, hangs on trees, weighs down power lines, causes power outages. And in a cold week in February, a power outage and no heat is pretty devastating. So I'm thinking about everyone related to the winter storm and hoping that everyone is safe and warm as we spread more cookbook love today here on the show. The second thing I want to do is welcome new listeners. Those of you who are tuning in perhaps for the first, second, or third time, welcome to the show. Welcome to our cookbook love stories that we tell here all about cookbook reading, writing, and collecting. It is terrific to be here with you, and I'm so glad that you are here. Next thing I want to announce is that I'm having a very special new masterclass for 2026. If you are interested in writing a cookbook of your own, if you're a food, nutrition, or culinary professional or expert or passionate home cook, food blogger, food business owner, I would love to have you join me for an on-demand masterclass called Get Paid to Write a Cookbook. And you will be able to enjoy the masterclass in the comfort of your own home, at the time of your convenience, where I'm going to help you discover what traditional publishers are looking for in 2026. Together, I'm going to teach you how to craft a viable cookbook concept that attracts publishers, build the essentials that make you stand out to publishers, and help to demystify book advances so that you are positioned to potentially earn an advance while you are writing your book. This masterclass, again, is going to be offered for free. It's on demand, and you can register by heading on over to www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/getpaidmasterclass. The link is in the show notes below, and that, again, is cookbookwritersacademy.com/getpaidmasterclass. I can't wait to share this masterclass with you. And as always, can't wait to see you enrolled, signed up, and enjoying learning all about how to position yourself for a publishing deal. So today on the show, I have former student and now published cookbook author Nina Greipel. Nina is the author of Gasthaus Cookbook and Memories. This book is a welcome to the Gasthaus, a German culinary legacy, and for 3 decades, a restaurant in Louisville, Kentucky. The Gasthaus stood like a warm, flickering candle, a hidden gem where authentic German flavors met the spirit of Gemütlichkeit. Founded in 1993 by Anna Marie and Michael Greipel, this family-owned restaurant became more than a local favorite. It became a cherished tradition. Now in this full-color German cookbook, Nina, the daughter of the founders, invites you into her kitchen where the Gasthaus spirit has been kept alive. With 80 recipes passed down through generations and lovingly served to thousands, the Gasthaus Cookbook offers a rare opportunity to recreate the soul-warming dishes that made the restaurant unforgettable. Nina brings to life all of the recipes through her own experience being a photojournalist. She captured them in her home kitchen and tested the recipes to be sure that you would experience success and detailed instructions and helpful tips in your cooking experience. Nina also talks all about her journey from cookbook idea to publication, what it was like to be part of an experience of working with other students in the publishing process. She talks about testing, developing, and photographing the recipes, all on the way to publishing her beautiful new book. So without further delay, let's dive into this interview with Nina Greipel. Hi, Nina. Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, it's great to have you here. So excited that you're here. Tell us all about your brand new book. But before we dive into that, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do?
All right. Well, thank you for having me on the podcast. Um, I I am a daughter of a family who moved from Germany to Louisville, Kentucky back in the 90s and opened a German restaurant. Um, my parents moved here before I did because I was still finishing high school, but I came shortly after. And then the restaurant opened in December of 93 and officially closed in around May of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents, ran the restaurant, operated it themselves with the family. I worked in the restaurant off and on myself and helped out. In the beginning, I was a server, and then eventually I was able to get my own career going, working at newspapers as a photographer after my college degree in photojournalism. And eventually I came back home after leaving the newspaper business and worked in the business with my family until I was more of a full-time employee towards the end, doing just about everything, baking all the desserts, managing staff, managing social media, serving, managing whatever, and did that until the end. And it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely our passion. We really enjoyed having the restaurant and serving the people the food that we would eat at our dinner table in Germany. And sadly, my parents just kind of started the restaurant a little bit later in life. My mom was 52 when she started, and she always jokes that I'm still under the age of 52, and I've got a little bit more time before I can start my own restaurant. We won't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the restaurant was family operated, and we served authentic German food, desserts, beer and wine in a small, cozy space in Louisville, Kentucky, in a strip mall kind of setting. But we definitely loved doing it, and we definitely all miss it.
Yes.
But it was time for my parents to retire.
Yes. Yes. Because it is the restaurant business is hard work. It's something that you definitely put your heart and soul into. And so this restaurant wasn't just around for a few years. It had a long tradition in Louisville. You all had a very devoted, steady clientele. Of course, new people would discover it, but tell us a little bit about being in business for 30 years and what happens with your customers as a result of that.
Well, we've made lifelong friends. We've some of our guests are now friends, like that we still have contact with, that we still celebrate holidays with, or we hang out with, or my sister's traveled with some of our guests. We've been to their weddings, birthday parties, funerals. I mean, it's just intertwined now. We're just, the restaurant business is basically something that provided us more than just, an income. It was a base where people gathered to celebrate German food and German traditions and everything German. They came to our restaurant to, ask us about German things, translations, anything about any questions they might have about Germany. We were like the source for a few people for German related issues. But it definitely made it definitely gave us a lot of new friendships, and some of my closest friends are ex-customers of ours, and I'm still in touch with many of them.
Yeah, and I think that when you run a business like that and your parents had the goal to make this feel like people were in your home, Even though you said it was in a strip
Exactly.
mall, it was a cozy space. And I know a lot of things transpired in that restaurant other than just meals. Tell us a story about maybe a couple of things that happened in the restaurant that really connected you to the people who came to eat there.
Oh, there's so many. One in particular I highlighted in the cookbook. We had a wedding. We had a wedding where the bride was being walked down the aisle, basically the center part of the restaurant, past all the tables to the front of the restaurant where we had a little hut and little house, little cottage that was built in the restaurant. That served as the chapel, and so they got married in this little cozy cottage. My mom made the wedding cake. They celebrated the reception, obviously, at the restaurant, so that was cute. We've been on TV many times. We've had Wave 3 come to the restaurant and do a Christmas special where we would, offer a lunch special that would offer donations for certain charities, and also a way of getting the name out and talk about German Christmas traditions and such. We've had many customers come like on a regular basis once a year for any like conventions that were in town that we would, welcome once a year, same time of year. Um, I mean, we've had a lot of staff that stuck around for decades or at least several years. Staff was usually pretty steady. There was not a lot of um, turnover. We treated our staff fairly. Everybody um, got treated fairly. We got
Yeah.
some staff meals, decent pay. Full-time staff got health insurance benefits. The chefs usually made a staff meal at the end of the night, and we all generally got along pretty well. Um, I mean, we've seen it all. There's of course, certain things that happen in the restaurant that happen in every restaurant business, like no shows of customers, no shows of staff, just
Yeah.
all kinds of things. But
Yeah.
in general, we had a great time. I
Yeah.
mean,
And I
we
love
love
the
it
stories
together.
about you and how you all would celebrate these occasions with people. The wedding is the one thing that did stick out to me and something that you were able to talk about in the cookbook. So, as the restaurant, though, wound down and when you all ultimately closed the doors, you lose a connection to these people that you care about. And
Yes,
you lose your, like, sense of mooring, like a place where you went to work every day, where you
right.
connected with your employees, you connected with the people who worked at the restaurant and with the customers. So, tell us about the evolution of the cookbook in your all's mind. Like, who started thinking about the book first? Was it you or was it your parents? And tell us a little bit about what you all thought might happen in terms of publishing this book.
Well, who first came up with the idea were not either one of us. It was more, I guess. Our guests
Oh,
came to us over the years and kept pushing us. Even 10 years ago, you should write a cookbook. I mean, my dad's been asked, my mom's been asked. Frank Falco would ask my dad, and Mrs. Kaufman would ask my mom, "You should write a cookbook. You should write a cookbook." And mom's like, "Yeah, yeah, I will, I will." But then my mom says she never knew how to. And then, of course, I have a background in photojournalism. I went to
right.
Western. And so the photography part for me was something that was already in my back pocket. And I'm a creative person anyway. And I figured, if I'm not doing the restaurant work anymore, which was like my life,
Yes.
it was my everything. And the demand was there for a cookbook. I figured I'm just going to go ahead and do it and figure it out. And the thing is, I didn't know how.
Yeah.
I knew a little bit about I mean, I knew enough about photography to know how to operate a camera, but food photography is a whole different beast. I'm used to photographing people and weddings and fast moving things. And, you set a plate of food in front of you, it's not going anywhere. I can take my time to photograph this. I can style it. I can make it more glossy. I can make it, saucy and cheesy and cheeseful and make the sauce like listen again. And I mean, I really enjoyed like being able to work on that a little bit at a slower pace. And yeah, so I I took your course and I figured, okay, maybe I'll just submit to a publisher a manuscript with all the recipes, just no formatting, just boring typed out
Right.
recipes, and then I'll submit my photographs and then have them work the magic and put together a book. But the more I got into your course and the more I kind of thought about it and the more I kind of realized that this book is so personal, it's just so unique that I honestly didn't want to give up the control to somebody else. And I figured like if anything, if I can like do it myself and have all the control over how it should look, I'm just gonna go ahead and at least try. And I did speak to a local publisher here in town, Butler Publishing, Carol Butler, nice lady, and I spoke on the phone, and she was offering to maybe help me publish it, but then I was already halfway through working on it, and I remember her specifically saying, you know what, you're already halfway through, just finish it, just
Yeah.
do it the way you feel it should be done, and just make it your own, and just don't worry about what other people say or think. Just make it the way you would like to see it. And I'm like, that's really all I needed to hear.
Yes.
Thanks, Carol.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I just kind of figured, now, I'm not a chef. I've no culinary background, like professionally speaking, or no culinary schooling. I'm self-taught.
Yeah.
It's like my parents are. And, I've always in the restaurant, I've always looked over the shoulders of our chefs and be like, hey, how'd you do this? How'd you make that? Why'd you do that? How long you cook that? And I'm just curious, I just like cooking and I love cooking actually. And I asked my dad a lot of questions during the cookbook making process. And basically, I taught myself how to cook while I was making the cookbook. Um, I already knew how to bake because I was the pastry chef at the restaurant. So that was pretty easy for me to write down those recipes and to, bake those recipes and photograph them. But the cooking part was completely new. And I consulted my dad many times. I had him on speed dial because a lot of times I made mistakes. And those mistakes I tried to work into the cookbook and tell people, like, okay, don't do this.
Yep.
And this is why, but I wanted the cookbook to be approachable to an average home cook.
Yep.
And like I'm an average home cook. I like to cook and I would like people to look at the book and pick it up and see, okay, follow the instructions and you can make sauerbraten. Because like I remember the first time I made sauerbraten and my dad gave me the recipe with the instructions. I made it the first time. I've never made it before. And it turned out perfectly. And I was just like mind blown.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought if I can make sauerbraten just by following the instructions, why couldn't anybody else do it? It's not rocket science, It's just follow the instructions and you should be able to make a delicious meal. And I wanted
That's
to
right.
share that with our guests and with the readers.
Yes. And your guests were asking for these recipes, but I think the vision you had for the book, and when you closed your eyes, you kind of knew in your mind what you wanted it to look like. And when you talk about control, I think that's what you mean. The art direction of the book and the way you wanted it to appear, you did have a vision for this. So tell us about that book, what you envisioned it might be, and how you were able to accomplish achieving that vision through self-publishing rather than going the traditional publishing route.
Well, like I said, I wanted to include in the book specific instructions. I wanted to include in the book because my target audience were mostly people here in Louisville that have been to the Gasthaus. So I wanted to include like where can you source the ingredients, where can you get the tools, like what tools do you need. I've got a whole page that has tools and equipment listed, mentioning like what the Spätzle press that we use looks like, of what an offset spatula is and what it's used for, and I reference to that page from the recipes, from the recipe pages, for people to understand, like, okay, this is what I need, this is where I can buy it. I also was able to involve my cousin in England, her daughter, Laura. She's an illustrator, and I've asked her to help me illustrate some of the like the tools. I had her sketch some of the tools, and I used those sketches in the book. I had her illustrate a pig
Yeah.
that I used in one of the recipes for Haxen. And so I involved her, and I'm so glad that worked out because, she lives in England and I live here. So we work together like that on an international basis, even. Um, but, I think I went at it pretty methodical. Like I pretty much knew, like I wanted to have the section of the tools, the section of where to buy the ingredients, and then also the headlines of each recipe. I wanted to have my mom's handwriting. My mom has a nice cursive handwriting. She's always had nice handwriting. And I just always knew from the very beginning that I wanted to have her handwriting be the headline for each recipe. So she worked really hard on that. She did a great job. There's
So
many
tell me
times that
what did she write with, and how were you able to get it? I mean, the resolution and everything of the recipe titles with her handwriting look really good.
yeah.
Tell me what you all did to achieve that.
Well, in the beginning, I I'll tell you the short story. I just had her write with the same kind of Sharpie, like a medium-sized Sharpie on a white piece of paper, the names of the recipes, and then she would scan them in and email them,
Mm-hmm.
and I would, look them over and be like, okay, can you try doing it a little bit more clean, a little bit less slanted, a little bit more, don't forget to dot the I and cross the T and just make it look nice. And, she would sometimes try it over and over until her hand hurt. But, there's been recipe names that have been rewritten so many times. Eventually, I figured out a way in Photoshop to scan in the letters, or scan in the word, and make the writing thicker or thinner. There's a way of doing that. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot exactly how to
Mm-hmm.
explain it now, but you can do that. You can do that in Photoshop. You can scan in handwritten material and make it thicker or thinner. And so I did that for the whole book. I went through every handwritten piece, every handwritten title, and just um, made it look consistent. Because sometimes she would use a thinner Sharpie and then a thicker Sharpie, and then just like, it wasn't consistent. So I tried my best to make it consistent in Photoshop.
Yeah, I think that makes it really personal. And then, of course, there's a nice head note usually in every recipe that
Yes,
talks about the recipe, maybe some history or a story behind it. And
yes,
what was it like writing that part of the recipe? Because that's different than the ingredients and the instructions.
yeah, special. I mean, that was my favorite part about the recipe.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes, I would talk to my dad just casually. Like one summer, I think it was 2024. We're sitting out in my parents' backyard having like a Sunday family dinner in the summer, and sitting next to my dad, and we're just talking, and we're talking about my grandma, or no, my his grandma, so my great grandmother, how she would make sauerkraut, and she would, cut the cabbage, put it in a big oak barrel, and put a lid on it, and then get a big rock from the creek and just put that on top of the lid and weigh it down and keep it in the cellar and make sauerkraut from scratch. And he was telling me that story, and I was like, "Wow, man, that's such a cool story," And he goes, "Well, she was the sauerkraut queen of the town. Like everybody came to her for her sauerkraut." And I'm, oh man, that's such a cool story.
Yeah.
I have got to include that in the cookbook.
Yeah.
And just like the little tidbits from just talking to my parents, like throughout the time I was working on the cookbook, just kind of prodding them and asking them more questions about the recipes and the background and the stories, and anything I can get out of them that I could use in the cookbook to share. It was just so valuable to me. Some of the recipes don't really have much of a backstory, because honestly, some of the recipes I got from the chefs that worked for us, um, and included them because they were part of the Gasthaus. They were on the menu and they were popular. So, but then some of the recipes that are like true family recipes, like the dumplings, the different types of dumplings. My mom's side of the family, my mom's mom had a dumpling recipe that was completely different to my dad's
Hmm.
mom. And just like the story that my dad would tell me that he would eat like 16 or 17 dumplings in one sitting when he was like a young boy, young teenage hungry boy, and his grandma was watching him just scarf down one dumpling after the other in awe. And it's like those stories just,
Yeah. And I don't
you
know that
know,
you, maybe some news stories you wouldn't have heard at all had you not embarked on this project and got your parents talking
yeah,
about food outside of the restaurant environment. Because when they're running a restaurant, they're probably not talking about these kinds of things. You're talking about the business, you're talking about, the day-to-day operation, things that are going on in the
right,
restaurant. So cookbooks really
right.
do give you a chance to talk to people and think about things in a different way. So as a self-published author, then you were responsible for wearing all the hats of the publishing process.
Yes.
You developed and wrote down the recipes. I know you had them tested. You took the photos, uh, the layout of the book. You worked with someone to lay out the book, and then the actual printing of the book through a company that you upload the files to, prints it, and then the books are sent to you. If there's someone listening to this today that would like to self-publish a book, maybe they own a restaurant and they're thinking about doing the same thing. You have a lot of experience with this now because you've been through it. What would your advice be to someone who is thinking about this?
Well, I mean, first of all, I need to go back just a little bit. The only design help I had was the cover. My friend John Mahoney did the cover, and I did all the design inside the book.
So what did you
Um,
use some software to lay the pages of the book out?
yes, I used Canva.
Nice. Very good. Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Canva, I mean, like I said, the design, I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted it to look, exactly where the elements should fall, but then all I knew I wanted it to look clean and easy to read, and I think I achieved that. But like if you wanted to like if you were somebody who would like to write a book, don't be scared. I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's not just like work putting it together. It's also a lot of critical time management. There's a lot of balls in the air when you're working on a big project like that. I mean, I still had to, run a household and work, have a life, and work with other people that were helping me with the book, like my recipe testers, my parents. And so scheduling all that and planning all that was a little difficult. And then, of course, I was crazy enough to adopt or foster a puppy in the early stages of the cookbook because I was home a lot and my
Yeah.
friend needed somebody to watch a dog. And I was like, sure, fine, bring her over. And of course, I fell in love with my dog and kept her, but she oftentimes was pulling on my attention span
Yeah.
very much so. So that was difficult. But yeah, if you're somebody who's thinking about writing a cookbook, like let's say you have a lot of family recipes gathered on pieces of paper or a notepad or even on a document online or something, don't be shy. There's so many tools out there these days that you can use. I mean, I use Canva. InDesign is a software you could use, but it's a steep learning curve. I didn't want to try that on top of everything else. Canva is very user friendly. Even WordPress might work, but just putting it together and having it in one place is so satisfying. It's even to me when I'm cooking at home, if I like want to cook some of my recipes, sometimes I refer to my own cookbook. I
Yes.
pull it off the shelf and look at it and go, "Yeah, how do I do this again? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm actually making a dish this weekend, having a friend over, so I'm making a dish from the cookbook. And it's just nice having everything in one spot.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And then
very much
there's
true. Yep.
even with photography, if you were to do your own photography, I mean, you can just look things up online. I mean, you can Google so many things. You can even Google recipes. You can just get inspired and put something together that's all your own. It's just be open to learning a lot.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I learned so much in this process. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my time management skills, which they're not always the greatest, but I managed. And I honestly enjoyed listening to your podcasts while I was in my little studio,
Oh, that's
taking
nice.
pictures of the
Yes.
food. I had you running in the background and
Yes.
listening to your podcast while I was shooting my pictures.
Yes,
So,
because I think one thing about listening to this podcast for people who are working on books is, or have published a book or are thinking about it, is everyone that comes on the show is somehow connected to cookbook writing or has written a book of their own. And I think
mhm.
that everyone that's done it, you're right. You don't just change on the outside and you don't just produce a book. A lot of things happen internally when we do this. Um,
Yes.
What's different about Nina now inside that wasn't like this before you wrote your book?
You mean the 20 pounds that I gained from making the cookbook?
Well, that's always a possibility too. People,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny that it's not funny that you mentioned that, but when we're developing and testing recipes, uh, gaining weight is a very real thing.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of sitting too. It's not necessarily
It
that I
is a
was
lot of sitting.
eating more. It was just that I wasn't exercising as much. I'm
It
a
is a lot.
cyclist and I love, cycling with my friends, but I just didn't have time because
Yes. Yes.
too many days as I'm working on a cookbook. I'm working
Yeah.
on a cookbook.
Right.
Just had
Right.
to put off a lot of social time and stay focused. But yeah, difference about me. Well, I mean, now that the book is published, what's different is the fact that I had no idea how needed the book was. I had no idea back then how much people wanted the book. And, now that it's published, I've been hearing from so many people how much they enjoy the book. I love seeing people's results, like baked results, cooked results, plated results, and they shoot me a photo, and it just, oh man, it's the best feeling ever.
It's a great
I mean,
feeling.
it's
And your
been
your
times,
your effort now is being like multiplied, like all the food
yes,
of the restaurant is being produced in people's homes now.
yes, and I mean, it makes me teary eyed. It's the best feeling
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Also some neat things have happened to you kind of professionally, like the places you're getting to go to talk about the books, the opportunities that you're
Yes.
having. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that have transpired in that arena.
Well, I've been on TV twice now. First time was like a short interview, and then the second time was an actual cooking presentation, early in the morning for a morning show. And I was more worried about being awake and getting up early than actually cooking in front of a camera. But yeah, it's been great. I'm teaching cooking classes. That's just something I chose to do because I felt like it was something that would be fun. Just, like I've been taught everything from my parents. Like my mom taught me how to bake. My dad, showed me how to cook, and I've just been taught by others by show and tell. This is how you do it. I feel like if I can help somebody, successfully cook something by showing them, then that's great. Then we've got another person who can successfully make a pretzel or successfully roll the lemon roll properly, because that's, kind of a tricky technique. And I think I've taught now almost 10 classes total, six, yeah, I think like 10 or 12 classes, some at the German American Club, some at people's homes, like
Yes.
private classes. That's been fun. And I'm currently enrolled in a program at the library. There's a new library here in town. It's a pretty big, modern library, and they've built a kitchen, and I'm their first chef in residence,
Oh,
so to
sweet.
speak.
Nice.
Teaching classes for free. Classes are free. I'm being paid by the library, and then I'm offering whatever, courses or whatever recipes I feel like are important to teach. And so the first class, I taught pretzel making, and I figured like, pretzel making is not completely difficult or complicated, but I figured out this like special trick of how to make them better and easier and more successful and make them rise and, look better. And I've learned that trick by just making pretzels over the years and just refining the recipe and just working on the recipe and just figuring out something that makes them, it's like a foolproof method. And so I shared that method And I wanted to share it specifically with kids as well, because I love watching kids, work on dough, and rolling pretzels
Mhm.
is just great. And um, it was a great class. It was very successful. I had about 100 people in the in the room, and about 40 to 50 people in the overflow room.
Wow.
And so next class will be tomorrow. I'm teaching baked apples with vanilla sauce. It's an easy recipe as well. Great winter activity. And then the last class will be how to make schnitzel and spätzle.
Wonderful. And that's amazing. And pretty sure it sounds like that this opportunity came as a result of the book coming out and you sharing these guest house recipes now through the cookbook.
Yes.
And your
Yes.
name, I mean, your name was out in Louisville, but the book kind of allowed you to reemerge in the community with a whole new product and a whole new way that you can reach not just your former customers, but new people.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I'm really looking forward to maybe teaching more classes. It's just a little bit difficult right now to find locations where I can do that.
Yeah.
I've offered people to do it at their homes. If I can have like a, little space where maybe a kitchen counter where I can cook, and then on the other side, people can sit and watch me
Yes.
prepare the food, would be a great learning opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and because when you're cooking, you know this, but it's important to have like a counter that's maybe the right height, have the equipment that you need, the cooking space that you need, the stove or the oven or whatever it is. And yeah, I think that who knows, people ask, but you've got to have the right space. It's got to be the right kind of
Yeah,
thing.
right.
Tell us, there's might be some recipes in this book that are not that are specific to the restaurant, like things that were specials at the restaurant that you all served. I noticed a couple of salads, maybe that you mentioned that was kind of like your house salad, a
Mhm.
special way that you did things. So, talk a little bit about what it's like to know that these are recipes that are truly unique for the restaurant, now published in a book.
Well, I mean, there's most of the recipes in the cookbook are recipes we had at the guest house, and then
Yeah.
there's a few that were not served at the guest house, but were served at our family dinner table, that were worthy of showing in the cookbook, worthy of sharing in the cookbook. Like all the salads we served at the restaurant, and then we have like a soup that we served at home that I wanted to include, which is the beef noodle soup. It's just a soup that my mom would make on Sundays, a big pot that would feed a lot of people. Um, there's an egg recipe in there that is an Easter tradition in our family that we never served at the guest house. Dad would make those eggs in the kitchen. Sometimes the staff would be able to eat them, but it was kind of something you couldn't really serve in a restaurant. They're basically marinated eggs, boiled and then marinated in a salt, onion, caraway brine. Delicious, very traditional for us during the Easter time. Um, but yeah, most of the recipes in the cookbook had been served at the restaurant.
Mhm.
It's just that some recipes I really honestly felt like they had to be included because they're just too good not to be. One example would be my mom's potato salad. So my dad's potato salad was in the cookbook because the potato salad we served at the Gasthaus, and I had laid out the page with a vertical photo of my dad's potato salad. And then my mom made her potato salad one summer, and we took it to my sister's barbecue, and I tried her potato salad, which I've tried it before, obviously, and I just thought to myself, oh my God, that potato salad is so good. It just has to be in the cookbook. But at that point, I was already almost finished with the layout and didn't have any extra pages to spare. And I just figured, okay, we'll just take the page with Dad's potato salad and split it up and make his potato salad a horizontal photo. And then I'm going to shoot her potato salad horizontal and then just stack the two recipes on top of each other on the opposite page and have both recipes on the same page. And it worked out. And it's like, that was the best thing ever.
Now you
that,
got now you
that
have
worked
both.
out.
Now
Yeah.
you have both of them.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So as we're starting to kind of wrap up, one thing that I love to think about is how cookbooks connect us to people. I always say at the end of the day, the work that we often do with cookbooks is about the people.
Yes, absolutely.
You've been reflecting about the people you worked with in the restaurant, your parents, the people who provided the restaurant. I mean, the recipes, people that helped you get the book together, and then of course yourself as the person that really, literally drove the project from beginning to end. Um, talk a little bit about that because it's now just not your restaurant customers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I I still cook our recipes with my recipe tester Abby
Oh,
at her
nice.
house a lot. We just share that now, cooking our recipes. Um, I I just enjoy like hearing from others, specifically restaurant customers who've made our recipes and who've cooked them and shown me their results. I've met up with customers to share tools like a Spätzle press, so let somebody borrow my Spätzle press. Um, I've been to people's homes. I've had one of the families, the Crepes family, invite me to their house for Father's Day. Of course, I brought my dad along, and they were regulars at the Gasthaus for many, many years. It's a large family, and they invited me over to cook for them, and of course, share dinner with them. And that was great because, just seeing everybody again, people that have used to come to the Gasthaus for many years, and we've seen their kids grow up over the years. And, it's just great that we can keep that connection going.
Right.
And, I hope to keep the connection going in the future, even after most of it has died down. I'd love to like talk to people more about the times at the Gust House and maybe the times that they've shared at their own dinner table with our recipes.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's very important to me.
Yeah. And I know that through the um, coaching program, the cookbook coaching program you were in, when we worked together, you even met other cookbook writers that are working on projects through the community that we built there. What was it like getting to know other cookbook writers, and what kinds of things have you all been able to do for each other as a result of meeting in the community?
Well, one of them, I've asked to be my recipe tester, so that worked out. And I haven't met too many cookbook authors in person yet, locally, but through your program, we shared some of the struggles and some of the things that we needed to do to finish the cookbook. Of course, everybody's cookbook is different.
Right.
Some people also had a different timeline of working on the cookbook. I personally knew that I had to finish it fairly quickly just to kind of keep the momentum going, of having the restaurants be close and closed just recently. Cookbook comes out within the time frame of maybe 2 or 3 years, and I think I achieved that goal. Um, but yeah, I'd love to meet more cookbook writers. I'd love to share my experience with more people. I mean, I would even love to share my the lessons that I've made, of my mistakes, or tips that I could give people of how to proceed with a cookbook project. And I've learned so much that I would be happy to share it. I mean, I'd be happy to share
Yeah.
anything about our recipes, and I've offered them. That's the thing. It's like I don't think there's too many cookbook authors that you can like email from the email address that's inside the cookbook and say, hey, how do you make this? Or hey, where do I get this ingredient? And have the cookbook author actually respond and be like, hey, you can buy this spice locally at this and this store.
Yeah, yeah.
I've,
Yeah, I
I've been
think that
offering that.
it is nice then when you meet people who are working on the same thing. Like you said, they're not just out running around in Louisville. And I think if you get to go to a book fair or go to a book signing where there's a larger group of people, there's usually a section of cookbook writers, cookbook authors there signing their books. And that's always very fun also to
Yes.
see the different types of books that people are writing and publishing. So when it comes to cookbooks, did you have a cookbook that influenced you, or did you have a favorite cookbook, or did anything influence your parents? Was there ever a cookbook like laying around in the kitchen that you all used?
I asked my parents that question, and my mom said that we never really used a cookbook.
Yeah.
It's just family recipes. There's two cookbooks that come to mind. One is a Paul Bocuse cookbook that my dad had picked up, and he used that book to create the Gasthaus seasoning, which is a special seasoning that we would use on any of the foods we would season, like the meats, the soups and whatnot. And then another cookbook that was influential to us was a Dr. Oetker baking book. So my mom, actually, this is a long story. I'll keep it short. But my mom grew up in Germany, moved to England with her family, and her stepdad opened a bakery, and she learned how to bake rolls and donuts and those kinds of things, but never learned how to bake desserts and cakes. And when we opened the restaurant, she still didn't know how to bake. She didn't know how to bake desserts, and she would order desserts from other bakers and resell them until she eventually figured it out herself. And she figured it out herself by, trial and error, but also by calling her sister in Germany, asking for recipe help or baking help. And a lot of times, my aunt Yvonne in Germany would say, just refer to the Dr. Oetker cookbook. It's a Dr. Oetker German Baking Today. Got it in my hand right here.
Nice.
It's a book that is actually I own both versions. I own the German version and the English version. They're the exact same book. Would you believe it? The German version is thicker.
Huh. Is it
But yeah,
because is the translation for that? Do you think it takes more characters or more explanation, or is there more recipes? Do you think?
I don't know. I don't think there's more recipes. I think it's just the wordings. German
Yeah.
wording is longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we referred to that cookbook, to that baking book a lot, just because it was so simply written and clearly written.
Yeah,
So
and I think
Dr.
that's one thing that's
Oetker,
neat about your all's book with the restaurant is there are quite a few baked goods as well, cakes and
yes,
special things that you all made in the pastry or cake department.
yeah,
Yeah,
I had at one point considered doing two separate books, one main course, one dessert. I could have filled both,
yeah, yeah.
but
I'm
I just
glad you
wanted to
did them
keep it
together.
simple.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
use the breadth of the recipes that the restaurant had, or do you feel like you have more?
Oh, I have more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the beginning. It was kind of like, okay, I had like 15 recipes, and then they just kept appearing. I just kept remembering, oh yeah, we had this too, and oh yeah, we should put this in and that. Just, they grew, and then before you knew it, I had 80 recipes, and I'm just like, oh my God, 80 recipes. That's a lot of recipes. But there's still a few recipes I would have liked to have included, like the Hasenpfeffer and a few other desserts.
Hmm.
I just I needed to draw the line.
That's right. And I think that's
You
true
know,
with every project. You at some point you do have to draw the line.
yeah,
Whether you're doing self-publishing or traditional publishing. Otherwise, you never get to the finish line. Now, with traditional publishing, of course, you're under probably you would propose how many recipes you might put in it. You would have a deadline for your manuscript. And when you self-publish, you could just keep writing recipes, but
right.
you were smart to give it an endpoint, because if you don't give it an endpoint, you never actually get to the publication of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. Well, the book turned out great. I can't
Thank you.
congratulate you enough. Why don't you tell everybody how they can connect with you and looking at your events and more about your book online?
Okay. Well, I have a website right now. It's gasthauslouisville.com. So that's GASTHAUS, Louisville, LOUISVILLE.com. That's basically the best way to connect with us. And I'll put any of our events on there, cooking classes or anything else, plus a link to where you can buy the cookbook.
Wonderful. Very good. Well, I'll link to that in the show notes. Well, I
Thank you.
can't thank you enough, Nina, for coming on the show again. My heartfelt congratulations. There's nothing more gratifying than to see people like you dreaming about a cookbook, doing the work of it, and then actually getting it published. We've had a banner year with traditional and self-published books for the programs. It's been very exciting to see. I'm very proud of the work that you did. I hope that you feel proud also. I'm sure your parents do. And I can't wait to connect with you in person and get to see, have you sign a book for me, make my way down to Louisville. So
I have a cookbook signing on February 12th at Carmichael's on Frankfurt Avenue. If you
very
want to come
good.
down.
So I will, that will be perfect for me to put in the notes here. And if anybody's in the Louisville area, you can go head on over to Carmichael's and get a signed book also.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope you have a great
Thanks
rest
for having
of your
me.
day. You're welcome.
Thanks,
You're
Maggie.
welcome.
You too. Have a good one. Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. Again, all the links can be found in the show notes at www.cookbooklove.co. And if you are interested in writing a cookbook of your own, please check out the free cookbook writing masterclass called How to Get Paid to Write a Cookbook. It is designed specifically for food or nutrition experts, and you can check that out at www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/free. So that's it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green, and until next time, have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.